It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again.
Please welcome our guest, Kobe Bryant.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, man. Man, if I knew college was going to be like this, I would have took my butt to school.
Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for coming to USC. Checking it out for maybe your 3 daughters who are on their way here.
Yeah. One for sure. One for sure. My other one's like, she's obsessed about going to UConn, so we'll have to try to figure that out.
She's obsessed with UConn. By the time she's old enough, USC women's basketball will be where UConn is now.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. That'll make my wife extremely happy to keep both of her babies home. So.
Speaking of that last, over the weekend, Arike Ogunbowale, when she hit the winning shot both in the final and the semifinal, yelled Mamba mentality. Was that easy for you to listen to?
Well, I mean, I love watching great players do phenomenal things, and it's always, it always makes me feel good that what I've done throughout my career has inspired the next generation, But, my daughter just looked at me after the game. She goes, we probably should have stayed home. Because we were at the game. We went to the game to see UConn. And, after she says that, she's like, man, we should have just stayed home. Yeah.
Great performance. It was such a clutch shot, both of them.
Yeah.
Today, as I mentioned, we want to focus on 3 things primarily. When we talk about mindset and mentality, we certainly want to talk about your competitive philosophy. We want to talk about leadership and then some of the lessons through basketball. We're on a strict time schedule. We're going to get you out of here by 1:30. Some students will ask questions at the end, but do you mind if we dive right in?
Sure.
All right.
Let's go.
So let's start with Dear Basketball, which began as a poem, almost a love letter to basketball. Can you tell us the origin of that writing and how it went from a written poem to a movie?
Well, I mean, it was just thinking about how was I going to announce that I was going to walk away from the game. And for the most part, as athletes, we tend to think about that in terms of communicating that to the public or to fans. And but I realized I hadn't really had a chance to speak to the game itself, and so I decided that was going to be my focus. And once I had that focus, the words came pretty quickly. I actually wrote 2 drafts within about 30 minutes. And the first one was more confrontational in nature because it felt like the game was trying to tell me you need me, and you can't walk away from this. This is who you are. And so the first tone was more confrontational. It was like, no, I can walk away from you. I can do something without you, And then in every argument, you kind of calm down and you start seeing all the beautiful things that you've learned from the game, which is the second draft that, you guys hear now. But I wanted to make sure it was visual. So it's easy to say, tell the game, I love you so much. But instead, I wanted to paint a picture with that. So if a kid is rolling his dad's stinky tube socks up, chances are you love the game enough to do that. So it's trying to say things visually. And fortunate enough, Glenn Keane believed in the vision, and John Williams believed in the vision, and we turned it into an animated film.
And give us a little bit of what's it like to be nominated and to win an Academy Award. You talk about being a kid and rolling up and playing basketball your whole life. When you were a kid, did you ever dream of hearing, and the Oscar goes to?
No, no. I mean, I grew up in Italy, okay? So, I didn't even know Oscars was a thing. I had no idea, And so when the nominations came out, we were nominated. It was like, oh, that's pretty crazy. It's pretty insane. And then to actually win it, I remember winning and just looking at my wife and going, what the fuck? You know, it's just like, what? Okay, all right, this happened. All right. And I remember after we won it, we got in the car, and, you know, it was like a late night, right? So we out hanging out and stuff, and it's like 4 a.m, and, you know, we're in the car going back, and I look at my wife and I go, now we gotta follow this shit up.
We're going to talk about Granity Studios and what projects you have coming, but you're right, you've set a pretty high bar.
Just a little bit. Man, I don't know what the hell. You work with Glenn Keane and John Williams. It's all downhill after that. It's like, you know, but no, it's been a fantastic experience. It's been wonderful. But even more important than that, I got a lot of funny looks my last year when people said, okay, what are you going to do when you retire? And I said, well, I'm going to be a storyteller. Okay, that's cute. What is that? Well, you know, I tell stories. Okay, all right. But so when you retire, you're going to go through different stages. You're going to be depressed the first week, the second week. And they would tell me this all the time. And so I felt like the nomination was validation that this thing is real. And I can do this. I do have talent other than, you know, dribbling and shooting the basketball. I can actually write. Yeah. And so I think that was the most important thing.
That is a great lesson. No matter what you do, there's other talents that you haven't nurtured yet that are sort of waiting there for you. Let's talk about, you know, focus on basketball, since that was the predominant part of your life. When did you start playing basketball, and at what age did it become your primary focus?
You know, I think I was born to play, man. I started playing at like 2 years old. And my father wasn't one of these fathers that was like, you're going to play basketball, or, you know, he wasn't one of those guys. It was just I was just around the game a lot, and I gravitated to the ball, and I was completely geeking out about like the smell of the ball and like the way it sounds when it hits concrete versus how it hits a parquet floor, and like the sound of the nets and the different material of the nets. And, you know, there's certain basketball hoops, like in high school gyms and in college gyms, the rim sits slightly above the lower part of the backboard. And it was like, I was geeking out if I got into a gym which was like the NBA, with the lower stanchion of the backboard and the hoop were completely parallel with each other. Like little shit like that would freak me out. So to answer your question, I was born to do this thing, man, and I did it nonstop all day long, from the age of 2 to when I retired, man.
And it's interesting from the movie and from what you say, it is as though, you know, when you fall in love with something, truly fall in love with it, you don't really have a choice. It chooses you.
Right.
And then you sort of become, you know, indebted to that. So it's interesting to see it come out as a love letter, because no one probably would assume that would be the way you would express it.
Sure. Well, no, I mean, it's you know, that's the trick, isn't it? It's finding what you love to do. I mean, we talk about hard work all the time. It's like, you know, man, if you got to get up every single morning and remind yourself how hard you need to work, you probably need to choose a different profession, you know? Because that shouldn't be there. I wake up in the morning excited to get to it. You know, if I'm not training, I'm missing it. If I'm not watching a game of basketball, I miss it. You know, there's no place I'd rather be. And if you have that feeling, then you're truly doing what God has put you on this earth to do.
Great advice. And then you left, you went from high school. You didn't leave high school. You graduated from high school. You went directly to the NBA. You were so young, you were 17, that your parents had to sign your first NBA contract.
Yeah.
So,
right.
You're the youngest person not only on the team but in the league. We've got a bunch of graduating students who are probably going to their first full-time job. Do you have any advice for students entering an organization and being the youngest person, not in the room but in the whole company?
Well, I mean, in business it's a little different. You know, I think the best way to prove your value is to work. Is to learn, is to absorb, to be a sponge. Right? But you always want to outwork your potential. You know, as hard as you believe you can work harder than that. And that's what I tried to do when I first came in the league. But, you know, basketball is such a direct competition sport that me coming in at 17, I hated when, like, my teammates would say, you know, I get hit with an elbow, right? Shaq would hit me with an elbow in practice. And, like, you know... You know, Nick Van Exel will come up and say, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, what? Are you okay?" the hell's wrong with you? You know, so like I always had that extra chip on my shoulder. So like every day in practice for me was really trying to annihilate everybody that I was playing against. Because I wanted to prove you don't need to babysit me. Like I'm fine, you know? And so it's always that competitive nature, the work ethic, and curiosity. Because I asked a lot of questions. You know, playing with Byron Scott, I asked him a lot of questions. Eddie Jones, who was great at chasing guards off the screens, and I didn't understand how to do that. I would sit with him before practice, after practice. Magic, James Worthy, Kurt Rambis, Kareem Abdul, all the Laker greats. I would always sit down and just ask them questions about certain games that I studied growing up. What actually happened there? What did you feel there? Why? You know, Bird tough to defend. Why? Because you look slow as shit to me. So like, I'm missing something. So like, tell me what I'm missing. You know what I mean? And so I would always ask questions and try to learn as much as I could. Right? No? I was a different generation. You guys probably never even seen Larry Bird play, which is. How many have seen Larry Bird play?
Hey, everybody's seen Larry Bird play.
That's not a high enough percentage. We got some work to do.
They are, you know, they are 18 to 22, so it's before their time, but I just thought that could be the greatest meme to send to Boston this afternoon.
Well, my kids have never seen Jordan play, so
yeah, that's crazy.
They don't know.
That's like, crazy.
They don't know. It's weird.
Let's dive into your mindset, because I really think that you have so many things that translate beyond sports. When we talk about mindset and beliefs, we talk about limiting beliefs as sort of being the ceiling of your potential. You know, how you think about yourself, whether positively or negatively, that's probably what your potential is. How do you stretch your beliefs and make sure you are continually pushing the boundaries of your comfort zone and your capabilities?
I just dream. I dream. I have dreams, and you know, dreams is they should be pure. And I think a lot of times, you know, when we're born into this world, we actually wind up going backwards. And it seems like the more we mature, the more responsible our dreams become, and the more governors we put on ourselves and our ability to dream and to reimagine. And it's always a fight for us parents and, you know, and for you guys to make sure that your dreams always stay pure. And so it's not a matter of pushing beyond your limitations or expectations. It's really a matter of protecting your dreams, protecting your imagination. That's really the key. And when you do that, then the world just seems limitless.
And when you set your dreams, a lot of times, especially in business and entrepreneurship, you have a big vision, and people will instantly start asking you how you'll do it. And so what we tell people is like, you know, don't get caught up with the how, because if you know every step to accomplish your dream, you haven't really dreamed big enough. Yeah. You shouldn't know every step of the way, and you'll have a tendency to walk it back. And so I would say, yeah, be unrealistic in your dreams as well. Well, let's talk about one game in particular. We're not going to cover basketball highlights because we'd be here for months. But let's talk about one game and how that sort of shatters the notion of what some people might think is possible. In 2006 against the Toronto Raptors, you scored 81 points, which is second only to Wilt Chamberlain's 100 points. No one has really come close to your total since. People have been in the 60s, including you. You went 28 of 46 shooting, 18 of 20 free throws. You scored 55 in the second half and 28 of your team's final 31 points.
It's been a long day without you, my friend, and I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. We've come a long